I'd like to share some quick thoughts from Luke chapter 7, and I'll start in verse 29. This is the Lord speaking about people's reception of John the Baptist. He says, "And all the people that heard him and the publicans justified God, being baptized with the baptism of John. But the Pharisees and the lawyers rejected the counsel of God against themselves, being not baptized of him. And the Lord said, Whereunto then shall I liken the men of this generation? And to what are they like? They are like unto children sitting in the marketplace, and calling one to another, and saying, We have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned to you, and ye have not wept. For John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and ye say, He hath a devil. The Son of Man is come eating and drinking, and ye say, Behold, a gluttonous man, and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of all her children." John came to prepare the way for the Lord. Specifically, he came to prepare the people's hearts to be able to receive the greater teachings that Jesus would bring. And how did he do that? Well, he preached the baptism of John. So what's the baptism of John? If you go back to Luke chapter 3, you'll see it identified as the baptism of repentance. So he was preaching repentance to people, and he was doing that on a very specific individual basis, helping people in their temporal lives, not just some spiritual minded sort of theoretical thing, but full on in their lives. And so a soldier would come to him and say, How do I repent? And he would say, Don't oppress people and be happy in your wages. And he was helping them to see the things that they already knew that they should be doing, they hadn't been doing. And if they accepted that, then they were baptized of him. But in verse 30, it says that the Pharisees and the lawyers rejected the counsel of God against themselves, not being baptized. So they rejected John and his counsel. And what did the Lord have to say about people like that? And why did they reject him? So he says, they were like unto children sitting in the marketplace, calling one to another and saying, We have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. This is one of those passages that sometimes it might be helpful to look at in a more contemporary translation. I would recommend looking it up in the New Living Translation, for example. I think it's a little bit more clear there. But essentially the message is these punk kids were sitting in the marketplace playing games with each other. And when the messengers came, when John came and when Jesus came, for example, they tried to play their game with them. And so they piped their song. And what's the expected response when you're like at a wedding or at a party and someone pipes music for you? Well, the expected response is that you dance. But John didn't dance, and neither did Jesus. And then they mourned and they didn't weep, meaning they tried to play funeral and they didn't weep. They didn't play along with the game. They didn't meet the expectations of the people or the children in the market. And it says, John came neither eating bread nor drinking wine. And when he fasted and went without food, everybody thought he had a devil. They called him possessed, said he was crazy. So they didn't listen to him. But when Jesus came doing the opposite of that, when he came eating and drinking, instead of saying, in an honest way, well, there's the guy that we were looking for. He is eating and drinking. Instead, they criticized him for eating too much, for being gluttonous, and for drinking too much wine, and for hanging out with the wrong types of people. So we can see that no matter what the messenger from God did, these people found fault with it and said it should be different. And because the messenger didn't meet their expectations, they rejected the messenger out of hand. So why did Jesus end this passage by saying, But wisdom is justified of all of her children? What exactly is the children, or are the children of wisdom? He gives us here the true way that you can tell whether a messenger is from God or not. You don't look at a messenger with your preconceived ideas and say, this guy needs to come and confirm to us everything that we currently believe, tell us that we were the best, and then meet all of our expectations exactly as we think. It's extremely hard to know what God is like. And any true messenger sent from him is not going to meet our expectations. They're going to fast when we think they should eat. And they're going to eat when we think they should fast. And if we're smart and we pay attention, we'll learn why they do those things, and so that we can know both why and do them as well. It's not in the expectations of the messenger that you find whether out somebody is true or not. Whether a messenger is true, it has nothing to do with your own expectations, but it's in the wisdom they provide. When a messenger comes and gives you a message and you act on it, you will see the effects that acting on that message has in your life. You will be able to tell if it makes you better or not. This is exactly the same message Jesus said when he said that if any man will do his will, he will know of the doctrine in John 7:17. So the children of wisdom are the effects of wisdom in your life. And wisdom is proved. In other words, the wisdom in the words of a messenger is proved by the effect that it has in your life by living it. So don't look for messengers from God to meet your expectations. Look at the messages that they give, do them, and if they make your life worse or if they don't have the effect that they're claiming, feel free to reject them and pass them along. But if their effects are true and good, and you can see that they're good and they're improving you, then you found yourself a gift from God. People who sincerely seek for God and pray and ask Him to send them further light and knowledge or help or a way to improve or get better or just to be blessed. I think most people just pray that God will bless them. And He answers those prayers, but those prayers do not meet your expectations. They come in the form of people telling you what you had not supposed before. And if you respond to those by testing out what they say, you'll obtain many more blessings from God than you would have by just waiting for things to obviously make sense to you before you act.